Okay, we are live.
Awesome.
So, like I was saying, I was scrambling to put this together. Took a portion of my weekend and a good chunk of my day today to put together. So let me finish.
Hey. So I already told him in advance. I'm still going to cut him off. It's going to happen. He wants me to let him talk. He said, whatever question I could possibly have is already in this presentation. So, guys, you're about to see.
I did
Like,
not. I did not say that.
this is the level of an S1. Okay. This is going to be a groundbreaking presentation.
It's so like spit and bubblegum put together, but it's man. If you're grading me on aesthetics for this thing, it wouldn't pass. But luckily, you're not doing that. So okay.
So, this is the Stock Tank channel. Okay. Well, not channel, but this is the Stock Tanks series where we chat about different stocks every week, sometimes every week, sometimes it's every other. Who knows? Okay. It's hard to find guests when it's not, we have to improvise. Um, and so, yeah, there's only so many people that are out there that specialize in a single stock. So, that being said, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Tanner. I'm from the Future Investing channel. That's Tevis over there. The Fundamentals of Investing podcast. That's not today's episode, though. This is the Stock Tank. I don't know why his name is that way. He'll have to change the channel name soon. Today, he'll be presenting Pinterest, or ticker symbol PINS, a stock that has been on my list for a long time that I've wanted to start to look into, and it always gets pushed for some reason. I wanted to look into a different company that came up, but I'm really, really excited to learn today. I've kept my hands off of this stock so I can learn more today. Tevis, take it away, my friend.
Okay, so so I can present the high level of what they do and just a little bit of context on how we got here, and then we can chat about some pros and cons. I've also just included some of my own, just trying to be critical, some of my own pros and cons. Full disclosure, I do own the stock. It's in my top 10 positions. I don't know, maybe like sixth or seventh. Okay, so basically Pinterest, what is it? It's a visual discovery engine. The narrative is around it being a social media company, like a pure competitor to like a Snapchat or Twitter or something like that. It's not. It's a visual discovery engine, which is more comparable to a competitor to Google, for example.
Okay.
And I'm going to explain why in the next couple of slides, because of the engagement rate and the high intent. But that's basically what it is. You have this home feed, discover ideas. You can create your own pins, which look like this. They have a link, they have a title, they have the description, and basically people can either save them into their own boards. So think like, mood boards or whatnot, or they can just click, they have like a redirect, which is where the whole advertising arm comes in. And that's how the business makes money, through referrals and advertising.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Which, that felt weird explaining it because everybody knows what Pinterest is.
Yeah, my girlfriend's on this daily. So,
okay.
But yeah.
Cool. So I just want to start with why businesses use it. A couple of the reasons are, they drive traffic, referral traffic mainly. They increase brand awareness for businesses. So 80% of weekly pinners have discovered a new brand or product on Pinterest. So people on Pinterest spend 80% more in retail than people off Pinterest. So these are very I don't want to say shopaholic, but these are people that purchase frequently. Like, I am on Pinterest sometimes to find ideas for things, but the primary demographic is women, and it's generally big So okay, so Tanner, you moved into a new house. Your girlfriend's probably on it because she's thinking about, how am I going to redesign the living room? Like, what would look good with what thing?
Yeah, you probably know more about this. I don't know what it's called, but you can kind of create little baskets of pins that you've saved. And she'll have bedroom ideas, bathroom ideas, this sort of thing, guest room ideas, stuff like this. And then just fills it up with all these things of other people's pictures and renderings or whatever to give her ideas of what to eventually shop for.
So the cool thing is that, and I don't have an example in the deck, but if you see a living room, for example, all of those products that are in that living room redirect out to different products that you can buy. So you can make an entire board of, this is my mood board of how I want the vibe to be in my living room, so to speak. And then you can actually buy those products from each individual photos. And it's not necessarily like Tevis made that post. I can to drive referral traffic, but a lot of the time it's brands that make that photo, that make that picture with their own products, and
Okay.
that's to drive traffic. And so 85% of weekly pinner get like, I'm going to use this pinners term because that's what they call their people.
Yep.
Their users, the weekly users have bought something that they see from these brands. Now, interestingly, um, okay, so first of all, let me just start here how it works from an advertising perspective. So basically, businesses can run targeted ads and they can do promoted pins, which is similar to like, you know, how you're scrolling on Twitter and then you see something and then just says ad at the top. That's basically what it is. You see your entire feed of little cards, and one of the cards or a couple of the cards are ads. Now, what Pinterest does is it curates these ads based on, you know, what Tanner likes, or based on what Tanner's girlfriend likes, so on, like what you've searched in the past, right? As a result of this, the curation aspect, Pinterest users are 3 times more likely to click on a pin to learn more than any other social media platform. Ads on Pinterest, 2.3 times cheaper for conversions. And the reason why is because the engagement, the intent is really high. People come to Pinterest to shop.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Sure.
If it was cheaper for conversion, why doesn't Pinterest raise the cost of their ads?
Okay. That's basically the main bull case right now, which we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So the result, which I spelled wrong because I was rushing, 40% quicker conversions than any other social media platform. Interestingly, you know, I've done quite a bit of digging to look at these statistics. So
You didn't misspell result. You played like a Scrabble game of like, that is so sorry, go ahead. That's ridiculous.
yeah, just switched around the S. Okay. So 85% of users say that they use Pinterest to plan new projects. So generally like big house renovations, stuff like that. And they plan these things well in advance. So this is like a little cheat sheet for advertisers. So the peak ad opportunity is like 3 months in advance of these events. So like right now, people are buying stuff for Christmas, essentially.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Okay, just really quickly on the data, and then we'll move on. So they have a massive pool. There's more than 5 billion searches on Pinterest every month. And then from this data, they do this like yearly trends report. And the trends report, in my opinion, is a representation of how accurate that data is. So that trends report is 80% of those trends come true. And the reason how they get this to work is that they basically see the search volume and they see what's gaining popularity in terms of like search term awareness and from the last 2 years globally, and then they curate the results and then they make their own, like, we think 2024 is going to be the year of whatever, you know. And then
Right.
that's like a trend basically that sorry, I just read the chat.
Yeah,
That's
just bring it up, just so people know. Yeah. Okay.
that's basically a trend that is moving forward, that they see in the landscape, in the market. Pinterest trends take off 20% faster in the first 6 months, and they sustain 21% longer than other online trends. So basically, the data advantage that they have, when paired with these other factors, the high intent to purchase, the high engagement, is really a sticky advantage that other social media platforms don't have. They don't even provide that to advertisers in that level of granularity.
Oh wait, can I touch on that? Can you go back a slide? Thanks. This Pinterest trends take off 20% faster. Do you know if this is one of those things? Like, I know whenever thinking about Shopify, they will promote saying, you know, we're 36% fast or higher conversions than other commerce platforms. And then whenever you actually look at the data, they might be 6% fat or 6% higher conversions, 11%. And then one competitor is 36%. And so that's the number that they say. Is that one of these situations?
It could be. I mean, they don't like really go into a breakdown of what competitors they form the basis of, like, hey, this is the market for our comparison. Like, this is the yardstick. It could be, but I mean, Pinterest is really, really big in terms of publishing all of these statistics, especially to advertisers. I have a business account on Pinterest that I opened and really never used, and
Okay.
they just like bombard you with all of these, you know, metrics. So they're really friendly on the ad side. And I know that for advertisers, for example, let's say I wanted to create an ad for the YouTube channel, and I create some post on Canva and it's whatever. One of their team, like an account manager from their team, would just basically get on with me on the phone and help me figure out how I can curate that ad to have more engagement. So they have that level of how can I say?
Unscalability. Is that how you would say it?
No, I would say personalization. Okay.
Because it sounds like any company can do that, but that's just costly. Like, why can't you just hire people, ad specialists, to go and talk to every SMB? That sounds like just
Sure.
they're just spending more.
Okay, but like wait until you see the actual like. So right now, I think the main value proposition, since we're going there, I think is the fact that they're not very heavy on the monetization side, and that's where they're going, is to monetize more, because right now they have all of this like raw data and they have all this potential, and the monetization is really the main sort of. I'm
probably skipping ahead here, but I'm wondering how ahead it is how many users do they even have?
470 million. It's in a couple slides.
Okay.
So what was I going to say? The way I would frame this presentation, or for Pinterest as an opportunity right now, is really as like a turnaround story. We'll get there. So this is something that they advertise on their business partner page, on how data can help you make better decisions, basically, and how they can make you have better ads. I'm not going to go into all of the reasons, but this is just some of the examples. Okay, so user statistics. So unsurprisingly, about 80% of the global users are female. They account for about 9.2% of all people age 13 and above use Pinterest today.
Okay.
And the interesting part is 97% of searches are unbranded. So if you're looking for, I don't know, a purse, you would just search purse. You wouldn't search like Gucci purse, for example. So that's what unbranded means. It's not a particular brand. And that allows you to have higher discovery for new brands entering the market and just have a broader reach overall.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is a report of April 2023 that just breaks down all of the user statistics on Pinterest side. Here you can see the breakdown of the advertising audience profile. So majority female, majority under 45 years old. That's sort of the big cohort. And I didn't include this in the presentation, but majority make over 100K, like household.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So really, really affluent shopper, like the buyers of the household, individuals, strong. And you said age under 40?
Yeah. I mean, you can see it here, right?
Okay. It's so small for me because the way StreamYard is, but okay.
You can make a full screen in the bottom right of your actual screen.
Yeah, then I can't see chat though. It's not built well.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, about 25% of their demographic is females aged 25 to 34. That's a quarter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Their advertising reach about 283 million. Now you're wondering why they have about 470 million monthly active users and only 283 million on advertising reach. It's because partially because a lot of the countries don't report on like the global countries don't report on the advertising reach numbers. So that skews it a little bit.
Yeah, that's honestly what I would have said is why like that made sense to me. It's just global. Some is going to be different than others, or But yeah, okay, very cool.
Okay.
So far, I'm really interested because I love e-commerce so much. Like I just love this industry, and I love advertising and everything like this. So I'm really I've been very excited about this one over many of the other shows that we've done.
Yeah, and look, I'll go through the positives and also the negatives, and there are negatives, and this is why I say it's a turnaround play, but let's go through it.
Okay.
So pivoting now to the actual business operations, some key points just to baseline us. The IPO'd at $19 at about $10 billion valuation in April of 2019. I bought into the IPO, not on IPO day, but like a couple weeks after. That was my first purchase. In February 21, Microsoft approached them for a $51 billion buyout. And then later that year in October, there were rumors for PayPal to buy them out at $70 a share. Also, there were some Google rumors. Satya Nadella, or not Satya Nadella, what do you call him? Sundar Pichai basically froze up in a keynote when he was asked about, because he was basically asked, "Hey, are you looking to buy Snapchat?" And he's like, "Nope." "Are you looking to buy Pinterest?" And he was like, "We can't really comment on anything like that." And so he just froze up. And this was literally the same month. I think that was September, and this was October. So there was definitely buyout interest. Coincidentally, October of 2021 marked the peak of both PayPal and Pinterest. PayPal was like, I don't know, over 250, and then Pinterest is down like 70%. And overall, the market fell quite a bit in 2022. They had a couple of just changes, restructuring. Bill Reddy joined as the CEO, replacing the founder, who is now on the board of directors, Ben Silberman. And Bill Reddy, I'm going to talk about him in just a second. And then in July, Elliott Management took a 9% stake. Elliott is they're an activist investor. And we can talk about that. But first, let's talk about...
Can you go back? I just wanted to talk about the Elliott Management thing real quick. And I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. But I think it's so funny that I saw the whole side of PayPal and everything like this, of Elliott Management having a massive share there, them selling and everything like this. And now seeing that in July, they took a 9% stake. They were probably pushing the large influencers to even buy pins in the first place.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to talk about that in just a second, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so first, let's start on Bill Reddy. You're going to like this, Tanner. CEO of Venmo for 7 years, Braintree, and then he was an EVP at PayPal. That was before he spent 2 years at Google as the president of commerce. So very focused on the payment side, very focused on the shopping side. And this is now, him joining at Pinterest. So he has connections with both PayPal and Google, which coincidentally, both PayPal and Google were names that were thrown in the mix. So he's been executing right now, but his main thing, and I've seen him sort of in keynotes and conferences and earnings calls talk about Pinterest. He really wants to make it the most shoppable platform on earth. So I think they did a partnership with Shopify back in late 2022. And then they did a partnership with Amazon earlier this year, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But his main thing is like, how can we get that ARPU higher? How can we make this a shoppable platform? And so that's really one of that's the core bull thesis for that turnaround story.
Yeah, I was going to say, this guy must be a massive part of the bull case because you were part of you were the CEO of Braintree and then became the CEO of Venmo before or during the acquisition. He changed roles to be the CEO of Venmo, because that's when it was, right? Braintree bought Venmo around that time. And then the next year, 2013, is whenever PayPal bought Braintree and Venmo.
Mm-hmm.
Super interesting. So I've never even heard of Bill Reddy. That's crazy that I haven't... So I got to look into this, man.
That's part of the turnaround story that started in mid 2022. Here's the Elliott Management piece, and this is a slide that I made in my original YouTube video back in 2022, just putting on my tinfoil hat around PayPal and Pinterest, and Elliott being the broker of that deal. But basically, what happened, and obviously that didn't come into fruition like a year later. Elliott took a 9% stake, became the biggest stakeholder. And then later in August, they announced their full support for Bill Reddy. Around the same time, they took a stake in PayPal. And then in December of 2022, Elliott, a senior portfolio management, just joined their board of directors on Pinterest. So they're pretty much a supporter of the CEO and then a supporter of that vision going forward. But while we have links to PayPal, I don't think those have really quelled. Especially, I guess the market just fell. So that's probably why.
So a man named Bill Reddy is really good at payments? Checks out. That's John Blake with his comment. Bill Reddy, that's funny.
Okay, cool. So I could hear you like as I was making this, just in my head, being like, "What about the numbers?" Um, so the reason I say they're a turnaround story is because they're like really a busted growth story after 2022, being an ad business in just a macro downturn. Um, I know what you're laughing at. The comment.
Yeah, but if you say comment, then you got to bring it up because the people who are watching not live can't see it. So you got to bring it up. People in the comments are funny, man.
Yeah,
They're
that's why like half the reason I can't focus. Anyways, so revenue, this is 2022 was a really huge year for them. And I think that in 2022, they carried forward a lot of their growth. And as a result, they stagnated in 2020 was a huge year and they carried forward a lot of their growth. So you can see like some amazing growth here year over year. Just generally like COVID, like everybody was forced to stay home.
yeah.
Right. And then in 2022, they had decline. So they were actually down year over year. And then now they're picking it back up. Same story with monthly active users. So I drew this little arrow. It was going up to 2020, fell towards 2022. And then now it's like sort of going back onto that same trend line. There's a couple of other reasons why monthly active users fell, but high single digit growth on the users front and on the revenue front. So that's definitely not a positive right now. Average revenue per user. So that's been consistently going up.
Right.
And a lot of the growth here is international. International is where they're expanding right now, and they're just putting more spend behind that. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But basically, why is growth slowing? Tough comparables, 2022 mostly down. COVID stole growth from future years. And then Apple and Google changes affected them. So Google had SEO changes in 2021, where they basically changed their algorithm on like what they promote on the page. And that really killed their searchability because Pinterest, from all of their posts, they like index all the like meta tags. And so they're like super searchable. Like if I search for couch, I'll have like Pinterest links showing up in the image search. So like the image search will be full of Pinterest stuff. And then Apple privacy changes hurt them as well, albeit not as much as actual social media companies. So that's yeah.
Sorry. Finish up what you were going to say. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so that's why I would consider this right now as a turnaround play for Pinterest. But go ahead.
Okay. And why invest now?
Okay. So great question. So average revenue per user is really where my bull case mainly hinges. So this is as of the latest quarter. Globally, a buck 50. Snapchat is 269, and then Facebook obviously over $10. They have more monthly active users than Snapchat, for example, and their market caps are relatively the same. And so this average revenue per user is really the opportunity for the company to really monetize heavily. And we're seeing right now that from an ad perspective, the traffic is increasing. So Snapchat, TikTok, and Pinterest growing more than Facebook and Twitter on both a year over year and month over month change. And the reason why ARPU is the key to growth here is because of the engagement. Pinterest is a shopping platform. Due to that high engagement, 90% of users report that the website helps them make a purchase. More engagement equals better ads. And as a result of this, we got to talk about ad load. So right now, ad load is one of the reasons why Pinterest is under monetized. This is basically the ads that they show per page and how much they like literally load up the page with ads. And in May of 2023, the CEO spoke at this JP Morgan conference, and they basically highlighted that the ad load, they can go as high as tripling that. Of course, that probably wouldn't make a great user experience, but the point being that it's significantly under monetized right now. And another thing that they're doing is they're shifting from impression-based advertising to conversion-based advertising, which is 5 times more lucrative from a conversion perspective. So ads, I mean, everything is coming together, right? With Bill Reddy having his sort of payments history and the under monetization in the average revenue per user perspective, everything is coming together for this opportunity. And I think the nail in the coffin, well, maybe that's a bad metaphor, but well, next slide. So Q2 Insights, they reported Q2 in end of July, August 1st, I think it was. You can see that there's a super heavy correlation with like retail sales and Pinterest revenue. We can talk about what the macro is going to be in like a recession, possibly that's like a negative. But the fact of the matter is that advertisers that use Pinterest see a 28% lift in conversions. They talked about this on the earnings call, and their spend with Pinterest has increased on 30% on average. Only about 10% of advertisers have adopted these tools so far. And for the 90% that haven't adopted, their revenue is actually declining by mid-single digits year over year. And like I was saying, the accelerant to this entire bull case is the partnership that they announced in April of this year with Amazon.
Gotcha.
So basically, they are bringing on Amazon. They're allowing Amazon to bring third-party ad demand to the Pinterest platform. This is a multi-year partnership. The goal of this partnership is to make every post or every pin shoppable. They began testing ads with Amazon in August, and they actually saw some really great initial results. And they expect meaningful revenue impact in early 2024 with Amazon.
Yeah. And they don't currently have a thing with Shopify?
I believe that, this is not in the presentation, but I believe that they did a partnership with Shopify in late 22.
Okay.
I could be wrong, though.
Yeah, because that sounds like a match made in heaven. Same with Amazon. This does sound amazing, because I was going to say, to be honest, I'll just be very honest. Nothing is getting me all that excited except for two things. One would be Bill Ready. That is super exciting, because the guy that comes from e-commerce and payments would completely turn this around. And then, but next, though, he's been in for about a little over a year. Like, what has changed since he's been there? If this is the big play, this is unbelievably huge. So, yeah, this is the big bull case, is making everything shoppable.
Right. And I'm almost done. So let me just run through a couple of the just numbers. Costs, I mean, they've stayed pretty much stagnant, pretty much the same across, year over year. Sales and marketing went up a little bit. G&A went down a little bit, but pretty much the same.
A little bit's funny, yeah. 31% of revenue.
Yeah. They're not profitable right now. They sort of flip-flop. They were profitable back in 2021, but they had minor losses in 2020 and 2022.
Okay.
And they're going to be on track to have an unprofitable year for 23 as well. SBC is also a problem. I knew you'd ask, so I looked it up.
Okay.
It's about 24% of revenue. And the problem is it's been going up steadily. This is the total, like the annual SBC. Okay. One of the good news here is that in Q2, Pinterest bought back about 500 million in stock, which essentially lowered their float. Balance sheet, I think it's healthy. So cash, short-term investments, 2.3 billion, 0 short-term debt, 163 long-term debt. So they're in a pretty solid position from a cash perspective.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to be if they're just throwing around 500 million to buy their own stock back, I guess, right?
Yeah, and if you think about it, and this I think was a outlier quarter. It's a very seasonal business, so like Q4, I expect to come in profitable. But if you think of it, and they're losing like under 100 million per year, and they have 2.3 billion in cash, like it's pretty safe from that perspective, from a runway perspective. So just to wrap this up, I think high level positives is the untapped potential for monetization. Balance sheet is healthy, and they have a moat around just engagement in data, just as with the stickiness of the platform and the value that provides to advertisers. Obviously, the negatives is growth, not very exciting. They're not profitable, and SBC is high.
Right.
So I can put it down, and we can chat.
Yeah, let's do it. So a couple things off the top. So do they have a expectation to be profitable soon? Like, is that even in their scope, or are they just trying to continue to grow? Or
right now, the main priority is increasing the monetization.
Okay. Yeah, and then, the biggest thing is like, what are they doing? You can look at like SoFi and look at all the different product pipelines. They want to have this out by 2024. What is the talk there? Is just shoppable, more ad load, hopefully
Yeah,
higher uh ads per click. And then are they like, what do they that must be a slide on their investor deck, is like, what is their average ad spend, and like, where's that going versus their average ad buyer?
yeah. So I'm not sure on the second part with regards to ad spend. I know that so this Amazon partnership was something that was a big deal,
Yeah.
and the last earnings call was basically around how like we're going to see a meaningful revenue impact going into the end of the year and in 2024 as a result of that. So like that's the thing that they're tracking right now is how do we optimize that Amazon partnership so that we can increase monetization that way.
I think this company is going to get acquired.
Same here, man. And that's the reason why, like earlier this year, when they were just like $19 or whatever, I bought 2025 leaps. And the entire reason is because there was so much interest when we were in a bull market, quote unquote. And I think that like they're a perfect acquisition target for one of these bigger players so that they can integrate payments into it. They can integrate so many other synergistic offerings. And I thought, Google would be the perfect platform because they can just change their indexing and their SEO and make it like they can control all of search, not only from a sort of word perspective, but also a visual perspective as well. And then, yeah, I don't know about the synergies with PayPal specifically, other than like checkout straight from the Pinterest platform. But the one of the biggest value propositions for them is they're a platform that has like almost 500 million monthly active users. You don't see that very often, right? Like, what do
Yeah.
you have, like five or six players in that space?
My problem is, and you know what, you have to kind of invest in companies that you at least like a little bit. If my problem with pins, at least, is that if I click on something and
Mhm.
it drags me to a Pinterest link, I will click away. Like, because I find that
That's you
it.
though.
Sorry.
That's you. So like ask Sam how she feels about it
Yeah.
and see because like the people like regular people who go on Pinterest, and granted, I go maybe like once every 2 months or whatever just to see what's up. And I've never bought anything on Pinterest.
Yeah.
But people who go there regularly go there with the intention of shopping.
And that could be an amazing way that I would use it, in a way, is like, I'm looking at a couch, and then, you know what, whenever you're buying a couch, it's like, okay, that's the three pictures that you have of this thing. Can I see this thing in real life? You know what I mean? And see a a huge assortment of pictures of like, this is what it actually looks like in normal non-model lighting or something like this. I'd be interested in using it. But the shopping platform has to be the big part of it. Like, that's why I think the PayPal side or the Google side, or Facebook taking a stab at this, someone that's just a little bit more experienced with this many users, it's seeming like that's really what went wrong, I guess. And I'm looking at this like, nearly 94% of all shares are held by institutions. It's
Mhm.
not being shorted, for like less than 4% short. Um, this is like institutions love this company, and for obvious reasons. But I think that the actual user, like, I don't know if I enjoy the product to want, like, that's why I think retail investors don't touch it.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that like nobody gets up in the morning for like 8% revenue growth year over year. Like it's just not sexy. And as a result of that, it's like stagnated all throughout this year. I think that as we go forward into 2024 and that overhang of the stolen forward profits from the COVID boom is going to be behind us, we can start accelerating again on the revenue growth perspective and on the member growth perspective. Because right now it's just 22 was a dip, and people are like, oh my god, they're actually falling. 23 is a very small increase based on that, and we can accelerate from there.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, what's the big push for you? I mean, you don't get out of bed for 8%. I mean, what's the big
Acquisition,
catalyst? Are you expecting more partnerships?
acquisition.
Acquisition,
Yeah.
acquisition.
this is also really cool, and I didn't really talk about this at all. But from a referral perspective, like they're really trying to be competitive as well. There's a lot of things that are going on in terms of how are they incentivizing content creators, how are they incentivizing brands, but the underlying thesis of all of it is how do we get average revenue per user up?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, if you're paying creators now, then your average spend goes up as well too. So I think that Facebook model is just they've just done it so well. Like you just get people to create content for free.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean it's really interesting. So who is like one thing that you said that I didn't quite understand is you said all the posts will be linked back to those products so then people can click through, learn more, whatever. Um, who's linking those?
So if I'm a brand, let's say I sell, I don't know,
Yeah.
furniture, I could then make a post and then link them to my individual product pages.
So, but okay, but what about like if like okay, here what's the spread between the regular people like my girlfriends of the world to make a post? I don't think she posts on Pinterest, but do they post or is it mainly brands?
No, a lot of people do post, and I can just get affiliate revenue, man.
Okay, so they do pay people if they link to brands, then there's an affiliate payout if people click through your post to
Mhm.
those brands.
So let me go into
Because that would be interesting as well.
yeah. Um, okay, so right, this is me live. So bear with me.
The girlfriends of the world.
Okay, so if I were to just like I just searched living room decor, you got all of these tags here, and then you see like the redirects where they go onto these like sites basically. Now, a lot of these are essentially blogs and blogs that basically want the traffic. So you'll get a lot of posts that are like, top 10 TVs you can buy for 2023 when you click on stuff. And then the rest of them are brands for products. And so if I click on one of these, I can look at what's linked here. So TV stands, shop TV stands, and I can get the same one. I can get different ones, basically.
Right.
That's Wayfair right there. IKEA, Wayfair, IKEA. And so you get my point, right?
Yeah, but
And
who's is IKEA posting that?
so, well, let's see, right?
Or is IKEA paying out to the
Yeah,
creator for
this,
posting that?
this is posted by Wayfair Canada,
Okay. Got you.
right? And so Wayfair Canada posts a whole bunch of stuff about all of their product lines, right?
Yeah. 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 And I mean, but okay, here's another thing. Are you following, like, you're not creating a Pinterest account so then you can follow Wayfair. You just would follow Wayfair
No,
if
man,
you already
I
have a
don't need to
Pinterest.
follow anybody. I don't need to like. I can just make. So this is whatever something that I've made for when I was moving into my apartment,
Yeah.
and it's suggesting like I add this to my board for apartment. I don't want to do that live, but I can create a board basically say, oh, this is my apartment board, and I can just save all of these. And then if I'm like, oh, you know what, I really like something here, like I really like this stand, like I just clicked on this, and more of these types of stands showed up. I don't need to follow Wayfair or any of these individual content creators because I'm just looking at products to shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't,
No,
I
I
don't
mean,
really care where it's coming from. I just want a similar product to this. And so I'll just make a full board of like, hey, this is what I want my living room to look like. And all the way from like the paint on the walls to every single thing that you see, I can say, well, this is really, I like this type of artwork. Let me look at some more that are exactly like this one. And so this is on Etsy, right? Like it's some creator on Etsy, basically
yeah.
added their own stuff.
Um, okay.
It's a shopping platform, basically. I think that's the main takeaway. Like
Yeah. A
it
shopping platform that doesn't make their money through shopping and they don't make their money through payments. It's
yeah, like
just affiliates.
it's a visual Google used for shopping.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I guess that's why they wanted to be picked up by the PayPals of the world, is there's an opportunity to turn it into.
Well, so think of, yeah, and think of it like if I can shop on all these things, and I can increase my average revenue per user as a business, and I can, and PayPal buys me and they integrate, check out with PayPal, they can also get a chunk of the spread of every single purchase through that platform.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what I'm also thinking is interesting, is just like if you had, vaulted information like your address and your payment details and stuff like this,
Mhm.
that could be like, you could partner with Shopify or you could partner with Amazon to make the purchases on platform, and that just like through an API makes those purchases to that address, and those payments would be unbelievable.
So this is an interesting comment because if you were to talk about Pinterest in like 2018 or 2019,
Yeah.
you would say, "Oh, it's like an aggregator that takes you to individual blogs where they make like, hey, top 10 lists or whatever for different products, and then the blogs make money." And so there's like a whole affiliate thing with Etsy and with like Fiverr and these types of like services coming up, and the whole like side gig, side hustle type of environment that really is beneficial for Pinterest as well, because now if I'm making, I don't know, like rustic wooden tables as my side thing, I can then advertise my own business on Pinterest. And it works because 97% of the results are basically unbranded, right? Like they don't, it's agnostic to whether it being IKEA or whether it being, Tevis's tables.
Is there any branch out from, like, because all I know it for is furniture and stuff like this. Is there any branch out from that to other e-commerce solutions? Like,
Well, not even that. One of my, and okay, this is, maybe I might not go here. Okay, well, fuck it. Sorry.
hey, no free shout outs. What are you doing?
So one of my
One of your buddies needs to send me a paycheck.
one of my boards is just looking at tattoo ideas.
Sorry, you say that again?
So one of my boards is just looking at like tattoo
Oh.
ideas for different types of tattoos.
Do you have any tattoos?
No,
Okay.
but I wanted to get tattoos. But anyway, so this was like one of I'm just looking at just like random like little things. These like that. This is a tattoo shop, right? Like there's
Right.
so,
Right.
so now you can imagine like services as well. I'll pull this down. Now you can imagine services as well taking advantage of this, because anything that's searchable, that's visual, that you're offering either a service or a product, I can search that. So like tattoos is like the furthest thing from furniture, right? Everything in between. If I'm looking for a DIY project on, let's say I want to build my own, I want to buy a small I want to build my own computer, right? I can search for build my own computer, and all of the individual parts that go into all of the computers I can find on Pinterest as well.
I have a couple questions, but I just saw a comment where it said, you know, eh, sorry, Pinterest turned down a $50 billion acquisition deal. Do you think that is like the, looking back at the Yahoo sort of offering before, where they, well, not obviously, but that they made a large mistake at the time, thinking that they could do it on their own when really they do need some big brother hands up here, or what?
So, okay, two things. First of all, this is amazing.
Absolutely. Love it.
Secondly, I think
Also, can I give you a streaming tip? You pre-read that, so the speed at which you pulled that up and dropped it down, no one read that. But
okay.
no.
Provo suggests that I
Keep
get
it
a
up for
net
the
new
rest of the
funds
show, just
tattoo.
because that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it up now the entire show.
No, don't drop it.
Um,
But you threw it up and you were like, "This is crazy," and dropped it. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, this is recorded, Tanner. They can always, anyways, doesn't matter. Okay. Two things. Number one, I think that the valuation is a byproduct of the market that we're in.
Yeah.
And so, like, Pinterest would have said no to a 50 billion buyout in 2021 when their growth rate was over 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know that they would still say that. They have a fiduciary duty to stakeholders, especially with like activist investors being in the mix. This is also funny. I think that
Another tattoo idea.
another tattoo idea. So that's point number one. Number two is when Microsoft and PayPal made their rumors or their offers, Ben Silbermann was the CEO and he was the founder. Right now, Ben Silbermann is taking a really backseat role, and he's been replaced by Bill Reddy, and then
Was he
Elliot has
ousted?
come in. What?
Was he ousted?
I don't think so. He's still like an executive on the board. I think Elliot came in probably, and what happened was behind the scenes, they were just like, hey, like it's down 70%. You know, you kind of need somebody to take it to the next level. And
Yeah.
Ben Silberman was around for like over a decade on Pinterest, or no, around, yeah, something like that. And so it just made sense. I don't think there was like any bad blood there.
Dude, Bill Reddy sounds like the guy.
Yeah.
He
I
really
like him a
does.
lot.
Like you were at Google for what? The e-commerce side? What did you say it was?
Yeah. He was, well, the position was actually weird. It was just like commerce and acquisition and the next billion users or whatever.
Okay.
Like the
And then Braintree and Venmo. So the guy understands payments like no one else.
Yeah.
As CEOs in both roles. And then I think average revenue per user could skyrocket through another type of product. Like obviously they're great at attracting or have attracted a strong user base. I don't know if that growth rate will ever return. But still a lot of growth ahead to monetize them if you can take average revenue per user. And for companies like this that have, like we saw it with Venmo. Venmo at the time, whenever they had a one product offering, that peer-to-peer payment system and very little actual money to be made there, they had a client lifetime value of $10 per user. And then they added a single new product, Venmo Crypto, which turned it into a brokerage, which was only adopted by, I think, like 25% of the user base, but yet entirely for the entire user base, it increased their client lifetime value or customer lifetime value from $10 to $35 because 25% of the audience adopted a single new feature. So if you're talking about this pins taking in advertising, which could still see large growth at $1.50 something was the average revenue per user, and
$1.53.
And you partner with the likes of Amazon and stuff like this, Shopify, because obviously I would want that, like, you know, single buy APIs directly through the website. Like you could turn average revenue per user like $6 like through not a lot of means.
Yeah, I also like this comment. If PayPal bought Pinterest, that would mean that every time Bill gets a leadership position, PayPal comes and acquires his company. But like, I think the wider point is, even if acquisition is great and that's amazing, and we're all looking for that. Even if they don't get acquired, I think Pinterest's main relationships is going to be with Google, right? In terms of that SEO traffic, in terms of that, how the business even operates from a visual search engine perspective, having somebody that has that prior experience. And not only that has the connections at Google and has the connections at PayPal as well. Like, this is always going to be something that's in play for Pinterest because of that CEO. Right. Yeah. Like at any given, I'm sure the conversation has been floated up multiple times. Elliot's probably floated it because they took a stake in both Pinterest and PayPal at the same time. Yeah. At the same time, right after Bill Reddy came on. So there's a lot going on, I think, behind the scenes here. And the fact that there was a lot of interest back in 2021 to acquire this company.
A lot of what?
A lot of interest back in 2020. Yes.
Okay.
The fact that there was a lot of attention or desire in 2021 to acquire this company, I think in 2024, when things start chugging along again and the economy or the market sort of comes back around, there's going to be a lot of interest again.
Yeah.
Now, something that could potentially be a negative is if we go into a recession, advertisers are not allocating spend as much, and that can obviously hamper the growth. But Yeah, that's really the reason why I'm in it, is saying, well, at this valuation, like they could get acquired to have an $18 billion company that has 500 million monthly active users and an opportunity to monetize those users. I think is really worth it for
Yeah.
me, given the fact that they're unprofitable and they have high SBC. Like, okay, so does every other growth company.
I'm curious what the deal was on in more like the term sheet details of the Amazon deal to know like, okay, is this exclusive? Like, can they go to Microsoft? Can they go to Google? Can they go to all these Shopify's and all these platforms and be like, hey, we have 450 million users. Why don't you allow all of your platforms to post here and shop directly through here? Because they all have essentially, commerce platforms. Microsoft being smaller than Google's, being smaller than Shopify's, being smaller than Amazon's, but still, all of them would be great.
Yeah. And I'm not sure about that. I just know that, from an Amazon perspective, think of how many individual sellers there are on Amazon and how
Yeah.
many products they're moving around. So
When was that? April, you said?
April, but they're only like testing out Amazon ads. They only started in August and they don't expect a full ramp until the end of the year.
So wait, it's only Amazon at in addition as ad platforms, but it's not Shopify or it's not Amazon sellers.
Well, it's going to be sellers through Amazon. Like, it's
Okay,
not only Amazon branded products.
but a buy through Amazon button.
I believe so.
Okay, okay. Because I just wanted to make sure that it's not like just some, I guess it's similar, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it says the partnership with Amazon will bring more brands and relevant products to the platform, combined with a seamless on Amazon buying experience for consumers.
On Amazon buying experience.
So they basically take you to the Amazon site, and if I'm selling, I don't know,
Yeah, that's the
slippers,
biggest problem with pins, right? Is that everything you do takes you off platform.
well, they don't sell anything. They're an intermediary, right?
No, I know, but it if you could have some sort of like the way YouTube does it on certain platforms where you're watching a video on their platform through an
And
API.
embedded checkout.
Yeah, something like this. You know what I mean? Where you can do the payment, you can do that and then continue your shopping. Not just here's 10 blogs and then you're completely off and then you forget about Pinterest until the next 2 months.
Yeah, and I think that's also like an opportunity area. But again, that's where somebody like a PayPal or their payment processor might be able to help.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool one. Can I finish or not finish it? But this is the big thing that the SBC is
Yeah.
bananas.
Yeah.
Where is it right now? Where's it going? Because I saw the one quarter was 23 point something percent. What was it last quarter? What was it 2 years ago?
Yeah,
You know?
I wasn't able to find the chart. All I found was this table, which I can just bring up the same slide. All I found was this table around. Let me go full screen.
So do you have a
Annual? But they went public in 2019, so obviously that's going to be like an outlier year. It's been inching up every year.
bear with me? I'm just going to try to bring up their revenue annually.
Yeah, I can do that right here.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's your revenue. So 708 million for the quarter.
708, 603. Yeah, okay. And then comparatively, comparing that to
like 169, I think this quarter, something like that.
how much? Sorry,
169, I think.
Okay, but what are they projecting for full year 2023?
497.
Oh, sorry, those were quarterly. I'm looking for annual revenue, so then I can see what the stock based compensation was comparatively to your. Okay, I have it. I have it here. So
How about
2022.
we go here then? Annual. So about 2.8 billion.
Yeah. Year before that 2.6. Year before that 1.7. Year before that 1.1.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the when they weren't even public at that point, right? Trailing 12 months about 2.9 almost.
Wow. And then the year before that 750 million. The growth has been insane
Mhm.
up until maybe recently. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing though, and like that's why it's like a turnaround play, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. So stock-based compensation would be my biggest falter
Mhm.
because obviously if they're not growing that fast, that's a crazy amount of money. The fact that they're also not profitable, but part of that is probably due to um 23% of it going to stock-based compensation. And like who is that going to? Because like the shares held by insiders is less than 1%. So it's crazy that the SBC is that high.
Are you sure that's correct?
Well, that's what Yahoo is. I don't know why I said it like that. That's what Yahoo is. I said it again. So it's saying 93.33% of institutions of institutions hold this stock, and then 0.99% is held by insiders, which
Okay.
means
I was looking at
5%, little more than 5% of this company is held by retail.
yeah, take a look at this.
Yahoo!
This is their 10Q, and you read
I can't see a thing.
Hold on. So here they have their share-based compensation for 3 and 6 months ending in June, and they break this down into like these 4 categories, and then they have total share-based compensation.
That's so I've seen stock-based compensation broke down in terms of research and development, sales and marketing in general and administrative. I don't think I've ever seen it broken down as cost of revenue.
Yeah.
But anyway, total share-based compensation.
Mm-hmm. So this is this quarter basically.
That's a big increase year over year on non-public.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the increase there? Just rough math is like what 40 something percent,
Yeah.
roughly. And then what's their revenue growth?
Not. I think revenue growth was like actually like stagnant, if not a little bit down in 2022.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean they got a new CEO. I'm
Yeah.
not sure actually. I'm not sure what the
That's
reason
probably
is.
a good portion of it for sure.
That's the part that I wanted to look into a little bit more because that's one of the that's definitely one of the negatives for this, the fact that SBC is going up.
Yeah, so someone said earlier, they said buying back shares with an unprofitable company spells bad news. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think there are some companies that just by design, digital companies. I'm not talking like, not high asset companies will have this, but like these really, really agile companies, growth companies. I'm thinking of, Pins or Marqeta or something like this. I think it's appropriate for them to buy back shares even when they're not profitable if they just have so much cash on hand.
Yeah,
like would it be really irresponsible for Robinhood to do that even before they were profitable? I don't think so.
Yeah, and look, the 500 million that they did buy back, that's basically their annual stock-based compensation for all of last year,
Yeah, but they still are doing the stock-based compensation. They're doing both.
And so like I still think that they see themselves as like in expansion mode and less so around like in sustainability and like profitability mode.
Yeah. But that's where you lose your buck. Like that's where you kind of get a meta play is they dropped all the way down to $88 a share because they were in growth phase whenever it was time to tighten the belt. Like,
yeah.
And so if they didn't follow suit, that's why this is crashing. Because obviously they have a really strong base, like of customers, really affluent, money spending, keeping the world go around, keeping the world going around type of people.
And so like that's the flip side, right? And that's what makes it like that's the risk that's introduced into this play, also to be like so overvalued by the market.
Peter Lynch has this I forget what he breaks it down into, those categories of different stock plays that you can kind of get into. And this is one of those ones where it's like there needs to be a catalyst for this play to work. Or I'm not saying that's even true, but that's the way I'm looking at it. of like this new CEO needs to do something spectacular. Someone needs to buy this company. But the actual growth, I don't know, versus how much the stock-based compensation is on this small amount of data that we're talking about. So if I'm wrong, like I've looked at this company for all of 59 minutes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and
that being said, it's not the greatest first impression with stock-based compensation in recent growth.
yeah, absolutely. And the bet that you're making with regards to that is that the recent growth is a very cherry picked number, so to speak, because of an event like 2020 happened, which like back in 2021, their growth was like 200% year over year, and
Yeah.
so that also is a cherry picked number. And so it's not going to be 200, but it's also not going to be like 8. It's going to be somewhere in between in a normal market. And that's essentially what they're building back up towards from both members and revenue. But I think that really, for me, the reason why first of all, I love their marketing, I love their brand, I love just the platform and the tool in general. Even though I'm not like a power user by any means, I think for me the main thing is that acquisition is the fact that if we're being real, some of these big dogs, they want the distribution network, and Pinterest can offer that distribution network in terms of how do they get their products out there, how do they increase the awareness around their products. And so whether it's a payment processor or whether it's an e-commerce company, I think Pinterest benefits both of them. And the interest in 2021 validated that. And I think that once the company is starting to turn it around, so to speak, it's going to be the front and center thing on people's minds.
Wayfair and Pinterest merger. Boom.
Yeah, I don't like Etsy Pinterest merger, Wayfair Pinterest merger. Like I think the big companies to buy them, like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, are definitely synergistic. PayPal, I mean, you would have to make more of a stretch, but obviously, it's synergistic because there was interest there. So
yeah, but dude, imagine if Microsoft comes back to buy Pinterest. The next offer is not $50 billion. You know what I mean?
Like in this market, no, it's going to be way lower.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you know what though, under new management, which might even be bill ready, because I don't think like it's less than a year or a little over a year.
A little over a year, about a year and a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like that, but that's even what I mean, like with the.
But like, think of it this way, right? They're an $18 billion company today. If it's not 50, let's say it's 30, that's still pretty much a 2x from here.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, there's the stock-based compensation really, because if it did happen, if he did get hired in July, really might be skewed, year over year based on the new CEO. So I'd like to see more of a spread out, like every quarter, but still, more deep diving to do on this name. It's definitely not that bad comparatively to some of the names that we've looked at, for sure, like where I've been able to really go in on them. And partially because I'm such a fan of advertising, of e-commerce, of payments, of all these things, that it does still have a place in my heart a little bit. So
yeah, and I mean, look, you can very easily make the case, and I'm not harping anybody for it, even though I own the name. I sort of am open about the risks and the negatives around it. You can very easily make the case to say, well, if I wanted to buy an advertising business, I would just buy Meta, or I would just buy like one of these other companies. Because like, if I'm settling for single digit growth year over year, then why not just buy Meta instead of Pinterest? But it's not about that, I don't think.
Or maybe it is. Who knows?
Okay.
Meta's strong, man, and Meta still has a lot of ARPU to go. I think that's really where the next phase is going to happen. Is in a lot of these social media things, the ARPU is just going to expand like crazy, and you're seeing that with stuff like Meta Verified and commerce and all these things that are being embedded like everywhere now. Anyway, are you good? Is that the show?
That's the show for me. Yeah.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Stock Tank. Next week, we're hopefully going to have another really fun show. And then perhaps maybe even the next week after that, I might go back to present another one. But we got a special guest next week. That being said, I saw some people going crazy in the chat. This is a little off topic, talking about Nubank and all these Latin American companies. Yes, the news was great. The FinTech Frenzy is at 8:30. Okay, so get hype. Tevis might even be there. Who knows? I'm just kidding. It's already pre-recorded. It's already scheduled to go out. Maybe Tevis is in it. So go check that out later on. But aside from that, guys, this is Tevis and I's beautiful face, mainly on the Tevis side. I look like I'm getting skinnier and skinnier, and this guy's posting pictures of his buff self on X.
Okay, thanks, y'all. Bye.
All right, bye.